Hi everyone, and welcome to my presentation on supporting our health through nature connectedness. Before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this presentation was made, which is the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So this presentation is part of the Health Lodge's focus on mould and environmental illness this month. And look, while there are things in our environment that can affect our health negatively, our natural environment can also contribute in a very significant way to our well-being. So I kind of wanted to balance our look at our environments and the impact that they can have to the ways that we can engage with our environments, which brings well-being to us. Interestingly, now there is a wealth of evidence that increased nature connection brings health and well-being benefits, including reducing stress and anxiety, increasing resilience and improving our immune function. And we also have a symbiotic relationship with nature, in that nature influences our health and we influence the health of the planet. So it's a really, really important relationship. Connecting with nature is much more than just being in nature or exposed to nature. Nature connectedness is about really tuning into your surroundings and noticing what's happening around you through all your senses, emotions, thoughts and actions. So nature connection activities help you to feel more in tune with nature and a part of nature rather than apart from it. And that's all very much about appreciating the wonder and beauty in nature and our natural environment rather than just the knowledge about it. So nature connection is not about wildlife or tree identification. This involves shifting your attention and focus from learning about what something in nature is to how things in nature really make you feel. The Nature Connectedness Research Centre at the University of Derby have given us and described 5 ways that people can build a better relationship with their natural environment and gain their health benefits from being in a natural environment. And I'm going to take you through those right now. So the first is about engaging with your senses, and here you can see the practitioners at the Health Lodge engaging with their senses in the herb garden at our practice at the Health Lodge. But using your senses just to really tune into the sights, smells, sounds, tastes and texture of nature. So when we're outdoors, we're really engaging with all our senses, being really aware of what our senses are taking in terms of sight, hearing, smell, feeling and taste. Do trees or plants have a smell? What do they smell like? What do you feel and touch? Different things have different textures. Can you feel any breeze on your skin? When we close our eyes and tune in, what can we hear around us from nature? So there are lots of different ways we can really use our senses to really fall into and just be more deeply connected to our natural experience. And this is a really prominent way of bringing connectedness to our experience and then really benefiting from the healthy influences of our natural environment. The next is finding an emotional bond with nature and noticing what comes up in these different natural environments, especially the joy, the wonder, the awe, perhaps the calm, the excitement when interacting with the natural world. I've got this photo of a swamp wallaby because it reminded me of an experience just a couple of days ago where I was walking up to the Byron Bay Lighthouse And on the way with a group of friends, there was a swamp wallaby by the path, and we stopped, and it was very, very tame. It stuck around, and we were just loving that it was there. But then this little joey popped its head out of its pouch, and just the amount of joy that emanated from our group was totally, totally palpable. Other ways that we can connect with our emotions from our nature experiences is to talk about those experiences with other people. We can use our imagination to bring a sense of emotion as we imagine ourselves in natural spaces. What does it feel like when we watch wildlife? What are the sorts of plants and animals that bring joy or other emotions to our experience? And talking about those to other people. What does it feel like? What are the emotions that come up when we notice a damaged environment? And how is it different to where we see a natural environment that is thriving and happy? So there are lots of different ways that we can engage in our emotional experience, but the most important thing is to remember that we are in fact having one, and to be mindfully aware of the emotions that course through us as we are moving through natural spaces or influenced by nature's influence. The next consideration in terms of uh, nature connectedness is appreciating the beauty of nature. Really consciously noticing things in nature that speak to you of beauty. There are some things that aren't hard. This is the sunrise in Byron Bay, and it's not hard to appreciate the beauty of this as the yellow is just kind of coursing through the sky. But there are lots of little things that happen too that we can spot, whether it's a little bird, perhaps we're lucky to see a rainbow. But keeping your eyes out for these things that are beautiful, obviously, flowers. And then again, describe what you've experienced to someone else. Also notice the things that inspire and express beauty through art and music. Photos also can be a great way to capture the beauty of nature in a very conscious way. So making the most of that as well. So again, we can really drop into the experience of noticing and feeling beauty in our nature experiences through producing our own art or appreciating the art of others, which really focus on this, using photography, or taking ourselves consciously to places which really throw nature's beauty into light. The next way to really connect with nature is to really find and notice and involve yourself in the meanings and signs in nature. I've included this picture of the osprey, and the meaning of this bird is that it really signifies the arrival and presence of our son, who's now 23. But when he did arrive, the osprey was around, and we picked up that meaning, and we've run with that meaning ever since, and it provides such a beautiful reminder when the osprey flies by. So yeah, just finding those ways. We can use a reflective journal to find our meaning. Meaning is very much in folk stories about nature. What are the sorts of animals and the sorts of things we find in nature that speak to us? What are the times of year that really have meaning for us, and finding ways to really celebrate those in your own way. Also reflecting on your own memories in nature and what was important about those times and what kind of mark that they've left on you. Lastly, in the ways we can really drop into nature connectedness and be in a very full and whole way with our environment and experience the deep, healthy benefits of that is showing compassion and care for nature. I've got this photograph of the national park, which is very close to our house, because it tells us that this national park is managed by the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation. And it was the first national park in Australia to be created under the Indigenous Land Use Agreement with those traditional owners. And they now manage that as joint managers with the National Parks and Wildlife Service. The amount of change and health we've seen come to this environment with the sustained effort and work and consideration of national parks and the Arakwal people is just astounding, and we are such lucky recipients of those efforts, and to see this natural environment thriving once again. There are all sorts of ways that we, in our own efforts, can show our compassion and concern for the environment, which may be dealing with our waste appropriately, particularly our organic waste, growing our own food rather than it coming for miles and miles by trucks, taking part in cleanups, or bringing more nature to the environment through tree plantings, or having our own conservation projects that we're involved in or support, or just being really mindful of what we buy. All of these things incredibly contribute to our own personal health and well-being. So thank you so much for being here and taking in this presentation. I would like to give a personal acknowledgement to David Rowland, psychologist in this area, who introduced me to nature connectedness, which had its origins in Japan and is called Shinrin-yoku, which is called forest bathing. So I encourage you all to bathe in your own forest and find ways of connecting fully and wholly with nature. It brings so much health and well-being to us.